You're welcome back. Time for business, and Sandra Afenu joins me with details. So what's in business?
You know, a lot of automobile giants have been pouring into the country, promising to establish assembling plants.
Yes.
But we needed some sort of backing, the legal backing. So that bill has actually been passed.
Good news.
Yeah.
Give us the details.
All right. Hello, good evening. My name is Sandra Afenu. I'm here for business. Cabinet has approved the March Talk About Automobile Bill. This officially gives legal backing for the assembling of vehicles in the country, SUVs and trucks, as well as other cars, to increase the 35% penetration that we needed. Trade Minister Alan Tremanti, who launched the bill, explained the move will, in the long run, reduce the importation of vehicles into the country.
According to the minister, fiscal incentives on new vehicles for registered assemblers will include a corporate tax holiday of 5 years for enhanced SKD registered assemblers. To this end, a stable tariff regime that ensures that at any point in time, the applicable duty and waivers are maintained at a total rate of 65%.
So we have exemption of import duties on the plant, machinery, equipment that you bring in to establish your assembly plant. So this is on the equipment and machinery part. All that you bring in to assemble your factory comes in duty-free and also without the payment of levies.
Speaking to Joy Business, General Manager of Kantanka Vehicles, Francis Kujoji, noted that the policy will increase production of vehicles and set Kantanka on the edge of becoming a market leader in Ghana.
We are very happy this policy has been rolled out finally, and we are like we've been saying, we are very hopeful that everything is going to, whatever preparations that we have in place, will go on smoothly for us.
So what does this mean for Kantanka?
It means it's a very good boost to Kantanka because we are in the industry already, and we've taken the lead. On the 1st September by 8 a.m. I'll be in the Minister's office to start the registration process.
Meanwhile, government has established an auto desk at the Ministry of Trade and Industry for the registration of auto assemblers and component manufacturers. Also, an inter-ministerial facilitation team composed of ministers in some key sectors for the implementation of the policy has been set up.
In other news tonight, July inflation has increased marginally from 9.1% in the previous month to 9.4%. That's more in the following report.
For the month of July, the inflation rate increased to 9.4%, with a monthly percentage rate of 0.6% as compared with the 0.8% recorded in June 2019. The rise in the inflation rate was greatly attributed to the non-food subsector, which recorded a year-on-year inflation rate of 10.7%, whilst education recorded the lowest rate of 6.4%. David Combat is Deputy Government Statistician.
And we see a dip, a downward trend, up to January 2019 of 8.3%, and we have seen that an upward trend for the month of February, dipped again in March, increased in April, decreased in May, decreased slightly in June, and has increased by 0.3 percentage points to 8.5% in July 2019. So it's a trend that is fluctuating.
The Deputy Government Statistician also added that the new 6 regions will soon be considered in the computation of the subsequent inflation rates.
We are making all efforts, to get figures for the 16 regions. It's taking some time because there are few challenges. For example, there are still some areas, some parts of the Volta region and OT region, some communities. And so the regional boundaries will have to be looked at in that part of Ghana so that we can align appropriately. 5 regions, Upper West, Brongahafo, Volta, Western and Ashanti, recorded inflation rates above the national average of 9.4%. For Joy Business, Karen Dodu.
Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry, Carlos Ahenkra, is urging banks to drop their lending rates to enable medium, small and micro enterprises obtain affordable credit. This comes on the back of concerns by MSMEs about inadequate financing despite efforts by government to transform the sector.
A recent study by the World Bank Group indicates that overall, approximately 70% of all micro, small and medium-sized enterprises in emerging markets lack access to credit. While the statistics describe this as a global challenge, the situation is much serious in Ghana. Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry Carlos Ahenkra notes banks must endeavor to help address the issue by dropping their lending rates.
We think that it's now time for the banks to consider this request by the president and see how they can bring down their rates to improve interest in borrowing. Today, when you go to town, you see a lot of people looking for work. It is all to do with the fact that people will not go out there and borrow at 30% and go and not make even 15% profit on whatever businesses that they're going to use the money for. So it stands to reason that if the banks want to assess this economy, if they want to support Ghana to develop, then they need to also think through and see how they can assist by coming down on their rates and making it affordable for everybody.
The Deputy Minister was speaking at the Growing Economic Opportunities for Sustainable Development Projects Business Forum in Accra. The program is aimed at promoting local job creation. Is the acting executive director of the National Board for Small Scale Industries. She shares some thoughts with Joy Business.
I think driving down credit is very critical to the development of MSMEs in this nation. Why? Without access to credit, you can't access markets, you can't access buy your raw materials, you can't move to the next level. And so it's really vital and important. So as you know, a lot of the government's initiative has been trying to get the central bank to drive down the policy rates, which has gone down. Now the most important part is for the banks to also use that to drive down their interest rates. If that then happens, right, when businesses access funding, they can access it at a better rate than they would have if it was at a higher rate. And it's important, you need financing to get your business moving to the next level.
The forum was organized by Christian Aid Ghana and the National Board for Small Scale Industries. For Joy Business, Sheila Tamaklo reporting.
Buying company PBC could be removed from the Ghana Stock Exchange by November this year. That's if it fails to publish its audited 2018 financials within the next 3 months. Judge Wafe has more in this report.
The warning from the exchange is coming after it announced the suspension of PBC from trading on the market from this Thursday. Let's listen to the acting managing director of the exchange, Eko Afezi, on options available to managers of the market.
Normally, we give them a reasonable period of no more than 3 months. After that, we'll have to take a decision on whether to delist them or not. But you remember, last year we created what we call a watch list. So sometimes we can put you on the watch list for everybody to know what's happening and give you time to rectify all these things before we delist the company. It is not that we are fan of delisting. We don't want to be delisting companies all the time. But then companies must make sure that they abide by the rules once you're listed.
But let's look at the bit about the delisting as well. So apart from if I fail to perform and you delist, would that be the only punitive action of taking me off the market or letting the company know that if you fail to do this, it's not just about taking you off?
In some jurisdictions, apart from just delisting the company, sometimes some impose sanctions, etc. We haven't done that for listed companies. Normally we do that for the LDMs.
Apart from delisting, we could look at some possible sanctions against you?
We need to have that in our rules. We need to make sure that sanctions regime is approved by the regulator, and also they're well grounded in our rules in order to be able to do that.
The suspension could mean that PVC can no longer carry out any corporate action through the exchange, while for retail and institutional investors, they would have been deprived of the possible price appreciation if there was some trading on the market. Well, the share price of PVC closed trading on the Ghana Stock Exchange yesterday at 3 pesos. The highest value ever recorded on the Ghana Stock Exchange for PBC this year was 4 pesos. It is not clear for now how this could negatively affect the company, especially at the time that some unionized workers are pushing for a management change. Some market watchers are also worried about the ability of PBC to quickly deal with these listing requirements, looking at the current challenges facing the company. Some have blamed PBC's problems on the lack of capital injection from shareholders, while others think that it is a managerial issue.
Meanwhile, Cocoa Board is forecasting a production target of 950,000 metric tons for the next crop season as the board prepares to raise some $1.5 billion in cocoa syndicated loan from some 20 banks next month. We have the details in the following Business Desk report.
Cocoa Board, in the notice to the Finance Committee of Parliament, based its forecast on trends in cocoa production over the past year and some good agronomic practices being adopted by the board. The 950,000 metric tons of cocoa that has been set is slightly higher than the 930,000 metric tons, which was even reviewed downwards by Cocoa Board. So which banks would lead Cocoa Board to raise this 1.5 billion cedi syndication loan on September 13 this year? Based on documents submitted to Parliament, they include Cooperative Robobank, Ghana International Bank PLC, MUFG Bank, Naxos, Nedbank and Societe Generale. These institutions, we understand, would ensure that Cocoa Board gets the targeted amount at a favorable interest rate. Cocoa Board is expected to also give these monies to the licensed buying companies to help purchase beans from cocoa farmers from October this year.
So the commodity market now, and crude oil lost $2.96 to sell at $58.34 a barrel. Gold, however, appreciated in value by over $19 to trade at $1,521.48 an ounce. The market update is up on your screens. That's all for business with me, Sandra Esinamap, and you can get more business news on our website, myjournline.com/business. That's right.